Hey everyone, my name is Lucas Miller, host of the Fear-Free Passive Investing YouTube channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today's show is going to be tough for some people. I'm going to explain, well, you can see by the title, why Grant Cardone is wrong. Now, I know a lot of people look up to Grant Cardone, so I'm sure there's going to be some people that don't like this video, but all I'm asking you is watch the video all the way through. If you still think I'm wrong, we'll hash it out after that, but hear me out. This video is not meant to be clickbait. I don't care if you watch the video all the way through, no big deal, but I do feel like this really needs to be said. Grant Cardone is heading towards a very dangerous path, and the most frustrating part is he's leading other people there with him. I truly believe Grant Cardone is wrong, and I want to show you why. But first, I want to take you back and explain how I got to this point. Now, my first introduction to Grant Cardone was reading his book, The 10X Rule, which at the time I thought was a phenomenal book, and it still does have a lot of really good things to teach you. I wouldn't say I recommend the book anymore, mostly because I lost a lot of respect for the guy after I started doing a little more research into him. But that was the first exposure I got to Grant Cardone, is the 10X Rule. And if you haven't read it, go ahead and read it. You know, make your own assumptions. So from there, I obviously started to follow his career, and he's in multifamily, I'm in multifamily, so I thought it was a great person to look up to. Obviously, he's had some great success. He bought like close to 1,000 units or something in one portfolio purchase, which was his big foray into the multifamily world. He hasn't been doing it long, but it's obviously someone that is very successful in purchasing multifamily properties. So obviously I started to look up to him and, you know, consume a lot of the content that he puts out. And from there, it kind of went downhill. One of the very first things you notice when you start watching Grant Cardone a lot is that he contradicts himself a lot. And this is the first problem I had with him. This is really frustrating to me. I try to be really consistent across all my messaging platforms and everything I teach. Grant just doesn't. So for example, one of the things he talks about all the time, or he used to talk about all the time before this, was that you should always buy property where it's warm and sunny because your tenants don't want to live anywhere that it's cold or miserable. Yet one of his latest transactions was in Columbia, Maryland. Not exactly Daytona Beach, Florida. But I can forgive that, right? Maybe it was just a really good deal and he jumped on it. I can't fault him for that. Maybe Columbia, Maryland has great tenant profiles or something. But what I can't forgive is his really odd marketing and investment return profile, if you can understand that. So let me explain. He has really strange metrics that he's using. So he uses all the traditional metrics of, you know, 15% internal rate of return and all that, but he's buying A-class buildings. Now, if you're not familiar with multifamily at all, there's A-class, B-class, C-class, and the rest. B and C is what I stick to, more B than C, just because it's an older product, but people are still willing to pay a premium for it. If it's nice and updated, you can find them that are a little run down, put a little money into them and make them nicer, and it juices the returns. A-class, you can't really find a lot of value add stuff. So what Grant Cardone is basically advertising is value add returns on A-class properties, or slightly below value add returns, whatever you want to call it. But basically he's advertising 15% internal rate of return, and I think his deals are somewhere around a 10-year hold, modeled after. I think I heard him say that one time. So you have a little bit longer runway, but he's also advertising 6 to 8% cash on cash return. Now, I know nothing about how he underwrites his deals, but I do know a little bit about underwriting. A-class buildings don't generally provide a ton of cash flow. The way that institutional buyers buy these buildings, like your big Wall Street funds, is they get their money very cheap, and so they're okay accepting a smaller return, somewhere around 4 or 5%, say, instead of the 6 to 8% that he's promising. So this means one of two things are happening. One, he's getting a phenomenal deal. No one's ever had a deal that good before. He's figured out the secret sauce that no Wall Street firm has ever found. or he's not going to generate the returns that he's promising. And he does basically promise these returns. His website is totally generic and it says, we don't promise anything. But if you listen to him, that's not how he says it. You know, he talks a lot about how, oh, you put in $100,000 and the next time you see that money, it's going to be double, maybe triple what you put in. To me, that sounds a lot like a promise or a guarantee or something along that line, and you guys know exactly how I feel about promising returns. There's no guarantees in real estate at all, so that right there should be enough to throw up some red flags. But I can still forgive that, right? If investors are educated and they understand the risks, the extreme risks involved in investing in one of his deals, they should have that ability, right? They should be free to do that. So why the title? Let's bring it full circle. Why do I believe Grant Cardone is wrong? The biggest problem I have with Grant Cardone is his consistent mantra of cash is trash. Now, famed hedge fund manager Ray Dalio said that cash is trash in January of this year, and he got a ton of praise for it. Everyone thought he was a genius. And basically, if you aren't familiar with that idea, it's your liquid cash is essentially worthless in a time right now where you're going to be eaten alive by inflation. Anything you have, like even like bonds or CDs or things that are basically very liquid cash, they're not worth as much as you might think they are. His idea is throw it into something a little more aggressive and you're going to have a better return. So why do a lot of people say Ray Dalio is brilliant and I'm here in front of the camera saying Grant Cardone is wrong for saying cash is trash? Well, the biggest difference is that Ray Dalio is not a real estate guy, at least from what I know. He doesn't do a lot of real estate. Grant Cardone does do real estate. Now, you could say he's giving financial advice and personal financial advice, but if someone who has the consistent mantra, almost every single time he gets in front of the camera, he's saying something about cash is trash and how you can't hang on to it, it's worthless, get rid of it. And on the other hand, he is running a commercial real estate investing business. That is a big difference from what Ray Dalio is preaching and what Grant Cardone is preaching. So you hear this consistent mantra of cash is trash, get rid of it, don't do anything with it. You start to kind of realize and wonder, well, just how well capitalized are Grant Cardone's deals? All these deals he's buying, is he putting a lot of cash reserves up, or is he kind of running them thin like he preaches in his personal investing advice? I don't know for sure, but that's enough to raise a lot of questions for me. Now, I get the feeling that this is not a very clear delineation for people that aren't involved in this. So let me back up a little bit, explain why this is such a huge freaking deal that he is basically advertising. Run your deals as thin as they can, leverage yourself to the teeth, throw cash out the window into whatever you can possibly do with it. And let's back up and talk about 2008. Okay, so a ton of investors just lost their shirts in 2008. A ton of real estate, valuations just dropped basically over a couple months, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. We've all heard sob stories, and it's really frustrating to hear someone preaching that leverage is the best thing you could possibly do. Get as much possible leverage as you can. Don't have adequate cash reserves because cash is trash, right? You put that cash to work somewhere else. If I were to ever give a seminar on how to survive a real estate economic crash, it would be very, very simple. Pick the best market you can relative to the yield that you're searching for. Never bank on organic appreciation of your building. And always, always, always have more capital on hand than you think you need. If real estate investors had just stuck to that basic advice, 2008 would have gone a lot differently for a lot of people. But it's easy to slip up, especially when you have someone like Grant saying, cash is trash. So why would he say that, right? Why would he continually put that out there? Well, it's just an assumption, right? And it's my own opinion, but perhaps Grant is saying that cash is trash because he's trying to maybe encourage people to invest in his deals, which he consistently says constantly that his deals are a safe haven from any sort of recession, right? He's always talking about like, oh, dude, you need cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. That's what's going to survive you, right? Put your money into something that's going to pay you back. Well, you couple that with the idea that he's buying these really thin A-class deals that don't put off a lot of cash flow, you start to question whether he's actually going to deliver on that promise. But time will tell. Who knows? He might be the biggest genius we've ever heard of, and cash is like the worst possible thing right now. But all I'm going off of is historical data, and if you talk to people who actually went through 2008 and the recession with real estate, a lot of them have said, I wish I was better capitalized, or I wish I had a little bit more cash on hand. I wish I was a little more liquid. I wasn't leveraged as hard as I was. So, you know, time will tell, right? But are you a Grant fan? Just let me know down in the comments if you think I'm way off on this video, if I missed the point or something, or if you agree. Let's continue the conversation down in the description. For now though, I hope you're all doing really well. I hope you're all healthy with this coronavirus situation. I hope you're making the best of it, and let me know if I can be a resource to anyone. I look forward to talking with you again soon, where we will have more videos about commercial real estate. Thanks everyone, I appreciate it.